There's an echo in the canyon,
You flatterer.
a reflection on the sound.
Yeah.
When I'm
Yeah, I did.
really looking, I
read
can
everything.
hear you all
We're
around.
on.
We are back. Oh, I can't believe what a season this turning out to be. It's January 28th. Oh my goodness. Welcome. And I've looked forward to this show with you for a long time. Thank you, Miss Sandy who is our special guest because she's the Poet Laureate of Old Saybrook, and she's a neighbor just down the pike. And oh, Sandy, have you hit the pavement running with that role? Thank you for taking that on. That's so special. And you really are a mentor. Oh, Lori Fox, you are such a stalwart support and so energized with your contributions that just go to the heart of things. And I mean literally the heart, because we're a very emotional team that understands the nature of poetry at its root. It's about the heart. I am Frank Crowley, and I'm so glad to be up and about after 4 weeks of a little illness. I'm going to start with a quote that started to haunt me a little bit over my lifetime. Quote, "Frankie, you almost went to that circus that day." End quote. You know, when things get repeated often enough, as you were saying a little earlier, they start to, like lint, they kind of connect and collect, and over time, you have a new hair shirt, so to speak.
Or snowdrift.
Yeah, pardon my metaphors. I've been a little, because give me a timeout when it's too many metaphors coming at once.
Okay, I'll say I don't understand.
That's
Back
a whole
up.
new program, Time Out for Metaphors.
You were ahead of me with your quips and cleverness, and you got those titles pretty good. Yeah, there's something about the metaphoric imagination, and that's what I studied pretty much. And that helps with poetry immensely. Oh, the Circus fire in Hartford. It's so hard to get into that and stay unaffected. It's totally overwhelming. Anecdotes. What come to mind in a short statement, anecdotally, from what you've heard secondhand, thirdhand, firsthand about the Hartford Circus fire?
Well, my father was a survivor of the fire,
Oh, gosh.
as well as my great aunt. They were at the circus that day
Together?
together, although they got separated at one point.
Oh.
And he moved to, they had 3 tickets for the circus that day. She was a school teacher at the Vine Street School in Hartford, and one of her students parents had given her tickets. My father had invited one of his little friends. He was 8 years old
Oh.
at the time of the fire, and the friend couldn't go. So we had 3 tickets. And when they got settled into the bleachers, my aunt said, "Hey, do you want to go and see the animals come in?" Down by one of the exits was they had blocked it and used it to bring the animals in a contraption that Ringling had created specifically for this purpose, to transport the animals from their wagon cages, the circus wagons,
Yeah.
directly into the rings.
Directly.
And that is, so he said, yeah, he went down to watch the animals come in. They were the first act. May Kovar was the animal trainer, very, very famed animal trainer.
Wow.
Hers was the first act, and they were going back out, and he decided to come back to the bleacher seats. And my aunt said, oh, why'd you come back? And he said, I was lonely. Now this is, talk about an anecdotal statement. This is a statement that has stayed with me for the rest of my life, because the place where the most people were killed was by the animal chutes, because they got
Yeah,
crushed.
they did.
So that is among the many, many stories, and even more, that my father has told me. That's really the one that is so pressing for me, no pun intended, because had he stayed at the animal chutes, I might not be sitting here today. You might be, but I very easily could not have been.
That's a nugget of an anecdote that's a lifetime treasure as a memory, and yet sometimes the light, oh, there's a metaphor, I better cut it out. Lori, what statement?
Well, Ringling Brothers used to come to New York. I grew up in New York,
Yeah.
in Queens, New York. And, Ringling Brothers would always come to, at the time it was Shea Stadium. Now it is Citi Field, but I had no connection to the Hartford fire. But my dad, who grew up in Portchester, had heard about the Hartford fire. And, it devastated him to a point where it impacted his ability to either go into a place and always look for the exit. It was his mantra to us, to impart on us growing up. And I was a teenager. I was like, I got it, Dad, I got it. I'm going out with friends
Right.
tonight,
Oh, my
and
God.
make sure you know where the exits are. Make sure you stand near the exits. Make sure you count the exits. Make sure the door is open. And he would go through a whole litany.
Each time?
And it was based upon that fire.
My father did the same thing with us. He always looked
Yeah.
for the exits.
Yeah.
And to this day, yesterday, the 27th, was the 4th anniversary of my dad's passing, actually. But so my mother, even in these 4 years, continues to remind me that my dad would do that. He would always look for the exits wherever
Yeah.
he was.
That fire is so interesting because there were so many things leading up to it. It wasn't just the flick of a cigarette or supposed arson.
Right.
There were things prior to that set that circus up for disaster.
As the books show, and here, Big Top Burning is a find simply by scanning the stacks at Westbrook Library. We have it? Oh my goodness, the cover is riveting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
arresting. It really
It's
is.
arresting. It's just the true story of an arsonist, a missing girl, and the greatest show on earth. Laura Woollett. By the way, we have a little more information, background, which would be helpful from the book. So, Emily, would you pull up what you were able to load and pull on the video for us? The cover and the little back summary. And could you read as it shows? There's a little bit of the jacket.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
On July 6th, 1944, thousands of fans made their way to the Barber Street in Hartford, Connecticut, to see the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus performance. Not long after the show's start, a fire broke out and spread rapidly as panicked circus goers pushed and scrambled to escape. Within 10 minutes, the entire Big Top had burned to the ground, and 167 people never went home.
Oh,
Big Top burning recounts the true story of one of the worst fire disasters in U.S. history. It follows the tragic stories of the Cook family, including children Donald, Eleanor, and Edward, who were in the audience that day, and 15-year-old Robert Segee, a circus employee with an incendiary past. Drawing on primary sources and interviews with survivors, author Laura Woollett guides readers through several decades of investigations and asks, was the unidentified body of a little girl nicknamed Little Miss 1565 Eleanor Cook?
yeah.
Was the fire itself an act of arson? And did Robert Segee set it?
My goodness, that is, in a capsule, an orientation that works for me. So I did read the book, but it was the jackets that really summed it up in a very, and now there are so many trails of inquiry to follow, right? Who was this Segee guy? He was actually a Native American in his background. And they pursued him for years, trying to, I mean, there are so many, it's almost like a spider web that comes
Exactly, yeah.
up, you know?
And I think any of these disasters, as a person who's also studied the Titanic, as you know, deeply, any of these disasters, they have a far reach into the past, and of course, a reach that extends well into the future, because they have the stories have staying power. I think one of the backstory aspects that I'm most tantalized by is that the circus was actually set to perform also the day before.
Right.
If you remember this.
The
And
fifth.
they had missed, because of the war, they weren't always able to get enough circus roustabouts, circus workers.
Yeah.
And trains would get delayed because trains were transporting wartime.
All the efforts went towards the war
Exactly.
effort. Yeah.
It was delayed.
It was delayed, and they missed the matinee performance.
Yes.
They were coming from Providence.
Yeah.
They missed the matinee performance, and circus personnel can always considered a missed performance a terrible omen.
That's
so
right.
already it
Right.
was set up psychologically in the minds of the employees of the circus that something was afoot.
That's a very fruitful line of inquiry.
There's
Because-
also, that little girl that they talked about, Little Miss 1565,
Yes, Eleanor.
they couldn't identify her.
Yeah.
And all of the people, well, not all, but most of the people that went to the circus were women and children. So the fact that this girl remained unidentified leads me to believe that her family was killed.
Uh-huh.
The father was probably off at war, and the mother perished in the fire. Therefore, they can't identify her.
That's what I was figuring.
Do you know some of what happened? The backstory of that?
The backstory of
Her?
No.
So she actually was being raised by her aunt and uncle
Okay.
in Massachusetts, along with her
I
siblings.
did not know that. Yeah.
And she was apparently visiting her mother maybe that day.
Right.
Right.
And what happened, why no one originally claimed her, is because, first of all, she was in the temporary morgue,
Yeah.
1565. Her brother and the and her mother, who had taken her to the circus, they were so badly injured. Her mother didn't leave a hospital for well over, I think, 6 months. She was in a coma.
Oh, my.
And so they had to wait for the uncle to
Oh,
come down from
yeah.
Massachusetts
Wow.
to be in
yeah.
touch with the family, identify the family members that were at the hospital.
Right, right.
So this was an extreme story.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it
of
is.
Identification and
Sure,
misidentification.
sure.
What a convoluted history. I started to get into individual families, and again, it's a kind of rabbit hole feeling. Although a person like this did her due diligence. She did a wonderfully researched book. I have not read this.
Stuart Onan has done his due diligence as
Oh,
well.
good.
Yes. It's a riveting book.
Thank you, because that's in the Westbrook Library too. And really, if anyone in our viewership wants to find out more, and particularly the intricacies of the historical relationships among town and Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Circus and law enforcement, and there are all kinds of complications here in the relationships among the entities that were responsible and also responsible for the investigation and so on. So there was a lot to it, and that's really probably a lot of that in here I'm hoping to read. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
good.
there's even, the circus itself
Yeah.
was a 3-ring circus.
Yes.
But there are many
Good
rings,
metaphor.
many
Yeah.
rings that really ripple out from
yeah.
these 3 rings.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you mentioned, the firefighters have a story, and the
There's all
healthcare,
different,
there's
all different perspectives.
all
Oh.
perspectives.
This is so rich for inquiry. It just,
And yet there was good things that came out of it. If you could think of a horrific thing happening, there was good that came of it.
Thank you.
And the good
Yeah.
was fire safety
yeah.
regulations were changed.
Almost
And
immediately.
as a matter of fact, the fire regulation safety codes for that event were modeled after, like, throughout the country,
Isn't
nationwide.
that a fascinating story too? A ripple.
And my
good
grandfather,
ripple, right.
my grandfather was a building inspector in New York City.
There you go.
So he was involved in that aspect of, building codes and fire codes and all of that.
Wow.
So, and it's because of that event. And unfortunately, when there's a tragedy,
Yeah.
there always comes about a new regulation or a new code, to protect people, because this was unforeseen.
And yet, an accident waiting to happen
Yeah.
because, as you pointed out earlier, all the ingredients were there.
Yeah.
And of the negligence, the lack of oversight, you named it. And
The circus must go on, and that is a term that was based off of, that whole mode of, if you miss a performance, it's a bad omen. So that the circus must go on, the show must go on. That came from
my goodness.
circus personnel.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
that is my favorite saying.
Yeah.
I'm always saying about our show here. The show
Show
must go
on,
Where
right.
did that come from?
Well, maybe we'll heed that
And
a little
that's-
differently
yeah.
now.
And whenever there was, I found this interesting. In order to, if there was an emergency happening or something that was not good and they had to notify all personnel,
Yeah.
they would play.
Disaster march.
It was John Philip Sousa's Stars and Stripes Forever. And
Yes.
that was an alert to let the circus performers and everybody involved and the employees know, all hands on deck, we got a problem.
Wonderful.
without causing a panic.
What a brilliant strategy.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm intrigued by the choice of the song.
Yeah.
Actually, I went because
And
that's a
Titanic
detail.
had one too.
Oh.
Yes,
You
they
know?
all do. They
Yeah.
all tend to. And the similar thing about the safety features,
Wow.
that happened with Titanic as well. International Ice Patrol began. The maritime law of women and children first got
Right.
Great analogy.
adapted.
That is so key.
And
Yeah.
in fact, we can bring it way up to present day. When the Titanic disaster happened, it was the first time that a coroner was brought in and created a system to document personal effects
Ah,
to help identify unidentifiable bodies. That
Wow.
was still being used and used significantly up to 9/11.
oh my
You would
goodness.
hear at 9/11 that reference back to
Yeah.
Titanic, where
Yeah.
that way of identifying bodies. So they would have been using that. They would have also been using that at the Circus fire. 1912 Titanic, 1944 the Circus fire. But I want to mention one other ring that's important, I think, to this story as well. It's not just that the circus was coming to Hartford. It's that Connecticut was home to the circus because of the Ringlings in Bridgeport,
Right.
Yes.
where there's
Right.
been a museum.
Absolutely, yeah.
There had been a museum for many, many, many years. Now there's also another museum in Sarasota, Florida, that the Ringlings still operate. But
Yes.
Bridgeport has been a significant site
Yes.
in Connecticut history because of Ringling's operations of the circus out of Connecticut. So all the more, I think, ironic that the fire would be so close to home,
the
literally
backyard.
in the backyard.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Literally in the backyard.
And Bridgeport was the home
Yeah.
to come it back to the home. Wow, we're shortly going to take a break, and probably a good idea because it's heavy,
Yeah.
and it helps to breathe for me. That's my initial release because it's really heavy here.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, because these personal references are so heartfelt and so family oriented, and say so much for Hartford's being, and also for Connecticut's being the home, almost imaginatively, of this story, but also other tragedies. And there were earlier circus fires.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that also factors in, but this is so rich. I'm just so overwhelmed with what you're bringing today. And it's, Laurie, you're amazing. You know all this at the bottom of your head.
Yeah, she's carrying the whole show. She's got the facts and figures
Oh,
down.
she's
She's
got
doing a
it
great
down.
job.
But you brought all the nuances and wonderful general knowledge that
Yeah.
not
It's-
everybody out there knows that.
It's an interesting topic. It really is. It's if you look at it from the different points of view,
got
it
it,
becomes
yeah.
like an investigative type of, I mean, some authors claim that it was an they don't know, undetermined cause of the fire.
Right.
But then you have some authors saying that they hired this, nefarious individual who had a past
Yep.
of arson in
A
his past.
definite past. And that
so-
history is
and mental illness.
and mental illness and Native American culture, which is, the shaman who imagines things and it is connected to the divine in the culture.
Yeah.
The Native American shaman, the Burdash, the really magician, the guy who is in the tribe who really you go to. So what a complication that is.
Yeah,
That's a novel
yeah.
or a book in itself. We're going to take a break and a breather. Whoa. But the lines of inquiry, spiderweb-like,
Very.
multiply. Oh my goodness. So, one could get lost in this.
And we haven't even talked about the flying Walendas yet.
Flying will, yeah.
And of all things, that is a focus. Yes, the flying, we'll start with the flying Walendas, which is really quite a story. So I want to invite Victor back. Did you check? And he's now hooked up. Victor has been willing to help us out because he's great as a dramaturg for all of my work here and all of our teamwork. And he does a really wonderful job with an antic point of view that kind of enriches the whole 360 degrees. So come on, Victor, come on in, come back. I'm so glad we're connected. This is perfect. So we'll take a break and Victor will be back with us.
A warning from Better Business Bureau. Scammers
Thank
are
you.
calling
This is
people
so
claiming
good.
they have
It's
an
great
unclaimed
topic.
police
So
checkpoint.
good. It's
They'll
just
tell them
so
to visit a website
powerful
to
to-
collect it, but
especially
it's a
after
trick
reading
to
a
steal
book
their personal
Yeah.
and
and
financial
refreshing.
information.
Yeah.
In
I
less
mean,
than
this
2
book
months, Better Business
is
Bureau Scam
amazing.
Tracker
This
received
other
over
book
800
will do
reports
for
nationwide, including several in
Hartford
Connecticut.
Circus fire. This is
Here's
one
how
of
the
the
scam
history
works.
press books.
You're sent to
Oh,
a
yeah,
fake site
sure.
that
And
doesn't
this
lead
is
to
my-
real
this I
government
think is my
assistance.
favorite
Instead,
photograph.
it directs you
Well,
to a
first of all,
page
that's a
called
harem
My
photo.
Yeah,
Cash
that
Search.
is.
On that
Yeah,
page,
of
you're
course.
asked to enter
Area
personal
view.
details like your zip code,
At
phone
this-
number,
I thought
email,
about this
and
as
home
the cover
address.
for my
After that,
book.
you're pushed to
But
redeem
we did-
offers
but I
that
had
lead to
original art
outside
Right.
sites. This setup allows scammers to collect your information, flood you with spam, and trick you into signing up for unwanted services or charges. Some sites may also install harmful software on your device that could drain your bank account. Protect yourself. Hang up, verify with official sources, never share personal info, watch for urgent language, and call your bank if you shared payment details. Keep records too and report scams to BBB Scam Tracker. That's bbb.org/scam tracker.
Calisthenics.
Welcome back. I changed hats to kind of change the atmosphere for a moment and lighten up to the trapeze, so to speak. Can you imagine for a minute, you're an 8-year-old child and you're sitting up in the bleachers. You're not by the animals or one of the exits. 8 exits, right? Oh! And all of a sudden, there are these people flying through the air. And your eyes are so big because you can't believe what you're seeing. What are they seeing, these young people? What are the Walendas doing up there?
Well, they are shimmying up the ropes
Okay.
or ladders to get to what became and still remains their very famed high wire act. without a net.
Oh!
Without a net.
And
And I'm not talking about without a net Funicello. I'm talking about no net.
I needed that.
Yeah, I thought you did. I thought you did. And so all eyes would always be on the wire because there was nothing to look at below.
And at this point, I'm an 8-year-old and I'm terrified. I'm really afraid.
And then, because my father was an 8-year-old he was watching it, then you see a flame start to crawl up the seam of the tent. That's what he reported. And he says to my aunt, who he was sitting with, I think there's a fire.
Oh boy.
And she says, and this is classic lore now in my family, don't worry, someone will put it out.
Right, right.
Because in that time, the mindset was people were really looking out for you.
Yeah.
And then pandemonium begins, you know,
If I could just interject for 1 second.
Sure.
They did have people under the bleachers for that very reason. If somebody flicked a cigarette, you know, they would have people that would put out fires.
The buckets.
Yeah,
So
they
they
had the
were
fire
prepared for
buckets.
that.
Yep.
But because of the war effort, they weren't there.
Oh, yes.
And fire extinguishers or anything they had to put out fire were locked away in storage.
Oh, I heard that.
So now you've got it crawling up. And you think, you don't know who's hired, who's not hired, who's at war, who's not at war. You're just assuming circus is fun and good and all well and all will be well. It will be taken care of. You could not imagine what was going to happen.
No.
in the next 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. How long did the Titanic sink?
Well,
That was a couple of hours.
it struck
right?
the iceberg at 11:40 p.m. and she sank at 2:20 a.m.
Yeah.
Still very quick for a ship of that size.
Oh, yeah.
But it wasn't 10
10
minutes.
minutes. Yeah. Wow.
And these children were frozen to their seats as they saw the pandemonium begin to spread like the fire, and people running, and the seats were collapsing because they weren't riveted seats. They were just loose chairs up on the bleachers. Oh my goodness. Wow. Your father's experience is so direct and so complete, and he lived. How did he live? How did he get out? How did your aunt get out?
Well, they ended up, as many people did, they jumped down off the bleachers
Yeah.
and they actually crawled underneath the tent, the seam of the tent. Now, at this point, there were people that were also on the outside. They were starting to help pull people out because, you know, the whole sideshows were all going on outside as
Yeah.
well. It was reported that on the grounds that day on Barber Street, there were about 8,000 circus goers, but that doesn't mean they all were in the tent.
Right,
They were not
right.
all in the tent. Some of them had, there's reports that they had.
Victor! Sorry.
No, that's okay. Hey, Victor.
Please continue.
But they had
Greetings, everyone.
knives. They had knives. Some were cutting open the seam to create more openings for people to get out. And of course, as we talked about before the program began, there were many selfless people inside trying to help the little kids who were now suddenly getting separated from their parents
Sure.
or the people that they were with. And that was a big deal after the fire. In the hours after the fire was, how do you reunite these traumatized people with their families? How do you reunite families?
So your father's an 8-year-old. He's there,
Yep.
and the confusion is overwhelming.
He runs out. Once he gets out under the tent,
And
he
he-
just runs. He just runs. And the story that he tells is when he turns around,
Uh-huh.
he just sees the whole thing up.
Oh,
in smoke.
Going up.
It's gone,
Gone.
or it's going. It's gone.
Oh my gosh.
And then he found his way back home, but his enduring detail that he also wrote an account of the fire in Yankee Magazine's 20th Century Memories issue in June 1999. So his was the representative of the Circus fire. And in that account, he shares how his enduring memory isn't necessarily of seeing the tent go up in flames or watching the Walendas. It's after the fire, when he's kind of trying to figure out how he's going to get home, and he's walking the grounds, and he sees circus personnel hosing down the elephants to keep them cool.
That's what
That
he
was his enduring memory.
the indelible print.
Yes. And no,
Stayed.
just by the way, because we all love animals,
Yeah.
no animals died that day,
I know.
shockingly.
Yeah.
That's so. Victor, you have a personal anecdote as well. And
It's more of a family memory, but yeah.
a family memory. Yeah. Please share that with us, because we waded deep into the debris here, and we're kind of in the middle of, as the poor 8-year-old, who's representative probably of a lot of youth at that age, Sandy Yanone's father, who lived through it. And what happened to the aunt? We'll get to that, yeah, in a minute. But your family story, and has it reached the level of family lore? I mean, is it repeated at gatherings? Is it sort of
Rarely.
rarely?
But, yeah. But I remember my mother talking about it. I think one of her sisters, not she, but I think her sister Hedwig, had taken their mother, Kazimierza Bobrowski, to the circus. My grandmother liked things like circuses, and she was a big Red Sox fan. Barely spoke English, but boy, she liked Ted Williams. So they went to the fire, and she was in her 50s at the time. She's born in 1890, so this is 1944. 5 feet tall, rather stout, with slow arthritic legs. So she and my aunt were afraid that they might get trampled by the rushing crowd, because she could move. She got out of the way fast, unharmed, as most people did, but they were afraid of getting trampled. However, that passed, and there was some fear and resentment, but all was well for them anyway. Now, the great majority did survive, and fewer than 200 actually died in the fire, so most people did escape. But yeah, I remember occasional mentions of the Hartford Circus fire.
Aha. We have shared so much about personal anecdotes, even distant ones, related to people we know. And I started the show, which you'll see when you look at it, with just a simple statement. Gee, Frankie, you almost went that day to the circus, end quote. Oh my goodness. But that's repeated. And as we described, it becomes part of family lore in the strangest way, so that it does stick somehow. And
What I find amazing, as you were saying, about your father, the memory that he had was them hosing down the elephants. And that kind of happens to children when there's trauma.
Wow.
When there's big trauma. You forget the big chunks of information that you witnessed, and you focused on the things that you could handle.
oh, that's a good one.
You know, there's like a compartmentalization.
Yes.
Where that's too much for a child to handle.
Absolutely.
Everything that he's seeing. It's too much for an adult, anyone to handle. And that was the one thing that he focused on. That was like keeping the elephants cool.
A defense against trauma.
Yeah.
And the, you know, we are all psychologically wired for survival. But speaking of survival, what about the burn victims? Those who did survive?
Well, we talked about how, I mean, Victor has it right. There was fewer than 200 people who perished, and there were hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of people who were burned, scarred, injured for life.
And emotionally traumatized.
And emotionally and physically.
And physically.
You know,
and the hospitals. I read the story, the real annals of the hospitals who were overwhelmed, all of them. Victor, I shared this book, which I found in the Westbrook Library, Big Top Burning, and it's a true story of an arsonist, a missing girl, and the greatest show on earth. There's a very interesting side bar, but I wanted to say who the author is, because she's done her work very, very carefully in terms of the research. Laura Woollett, 2 L's, 2 T's, has a master's degree in children's literature from Simmons College, and is a writer and editor of literacy curriculum for kids and young adults. Originally from South Windsor, Connecticut, Laura now lives in Massachusetts with her husband, daughter, and 2 cats. So she's a hometown girl, so to speak, who actually...
yeah, right down the street, literally, South Windsor, sure.
Down the street.
Right down the street.
And here's a chapter, Municipal Hospital. We had 2 hands and did whatever we could to save steps for those whose experience and ability was most needed elsewhere. Quote unquote, volunteer nurse's aide, Patricia Wakefield, Hartford Current, July 7th, 44. So the coverage was continuous after that.
You know, another detail that I'm remembering, and maybe you also remember this, Lori, perhaps Victor, a few years before the Circus fire, there had been the Coconut Grove fire in Boston.
Oh.
And that fire, you know, it was a nightclub, so a very
Yes.
different atmosphere.
Yeah.
But what came out of that fire was a lot of advances in how to treat burn victims. And as a result of what they learned from the
Interesting.
Coconut Grove fire, probably we have more burn survivors because of that. So that casualty rate likely would have been higher had the medical field not learned what they had learned from the Coconut
Right.
Grove fire in Boston.
And that was alluded to in this book. And Victor, correct me if I'm wrong, you're our statistician.
Unlikely to, but go ahead.
There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds from the Coconut Grove fire. What? How could that be? In a nightclub, they had hundreds and hundreds of burn victims. It didn't compute for me out of this, but that was what was mentioned. How big was this Coconut Grove nightclub? Oh my
I think
goodness.
it was room after room after room. It was huge. It was massive.
Was it really?
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, because I did read a book about the Coconut Grove a long time ago now, that is another one of the worst fires in U.S. history. And that's about, I think, over 400 casualties. That's deaths.
Yeah.
That's deaths, folks, not, you know, most of the people died in that fire.
I was gobsmacked, just
Yeah.
overwhelmed with that fact. We are on such a roll. we could go for a couple of 2-3 hours. We're going to have a reprise in May, though, which is good. And Victor, we've got 10 minutes. Give us your distilled wisdom from this experience, personal from family, but also whatever had crossed your desk or just caught your attention about this particular tragedy.
I have no wisdom, just a few scraps of information. I noticed one of the problems was the quaint method of waterproofing the tent canvas.
Oh my goodness.
Has this been mentioned?
No, we haven't
No,
talked
we haven't
about it
talked
yet.
about that.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, they learned a lesson from that, but then when I spent, years ago, spent 6 months working in England, and one of the favorite rough weather garments over there was a thing called the waxed anorak.
Say again.
Anorak is just basically like a rain jacket. But the
Say
waterproof
again.
or
I love
waxing.
that
So I was
name.
wondering what the flammability possibilities were there. Apparently they didn't learn from the circus fire.
Oh, in England, say again what the name of it is. The
A
jacket.
waxed anorak. Do we use the term here? A-N-O-R-A-K. Yeah, it's basically
Anorak is like a
It's just like a
weatherproof.
Rain
yeah,
jacket.
weather jumper.
New to
with a
me.
hood.
I love learning.
You actually own an anorak. I know you do.
Oh, I
but
know,
you don't
but-
know that.
He just didn't know what
But
it was
the
called.
word,
Yeah.
the word is new to
And
me.
the waxed anorak.
Yeah.
There's
Oh.
a lyricism right there. I love
Oh,
that
waxed.
poetically.
Yeah.
The waxed anorak.
Leave it to
Internal
you.
rhyme, it's lovely.
It is,
It's
isn't
a
it?
lovely rhyme.
really
Waxed
is.
anorak.
I might take it. Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah. Could you write the poem?
There's the
Maybe,
poem.
but
There you
May
go.
I'll have it.
Or Victor. Wow, that is so essential. Why did they? And gasoline.
Yeah.
They used gasoline on the tent.
Apparently, it worked at the time.
Oh, this is so nuts.
To waterproof,
Yeah.
but that didn't mean it was fireproof.
no.
And then you had hay underneath.
yes.
So it was a perfect storm of a fire.
Oh, it was in a perfect case of how did we get here?
Right.
Because there had been earlier fires, Victor. There had been earlier circus fires.
There had, yes. Yeah.
And Mr. Mystery Man, who has been mentioned, his name is Sigi, and he was Native American, a shaman, Burdash, in his tribe. And he was abused horribly by his father. I don't know whether it was natural father, the Indian culture, or what. I don't know. But he was brutally abused as a child. And at 15, he was already acting out, and his sister said, warning, warning, there's something going on that, and then the poor thing was investigated for years and pursued. That's a whole book in itself, especially the confounding confusion of the authorities who kind of were looking for the person to pin it on, but also at the same time to take the credit for solving a mystery. Oh, it's just so confusing and convoluted that it just taxes my logical abilities. And Victor, did you ever hear of that wing of the story?
No, I remember I was reading up a bit about the circus fire, and I came across that name, but I can't add anything. Can't add anything to that, no.
Oh, that penetrated me, for one thing, because of the abuse.
He was a suspect for many, many years.
Many
and
years.
He confessed at one point, actually.
He confessed.
Yeah.
He confessed.
And then
But then he
years
retracted.
later,
Yes.
he recanted.
Yeah.
I mean, the poor guy was so probably from abuse, number one. I'm not armchair psychology here, but it's just so sad to put it all together and have him, and then he finally died in a mental institution, but then was released not died in the institution, but he was at home and they were still pursuing him. And his wife, oh my God, I guess I want to read more about that. What else, Victor, have we missed?
Well, since I missed so much of the show, I got the link rather late.
Yeah.
I really can't tell you what you've missed. I'm not going to repeat anything
No.
unintentionally either.
No.
Yeah.
But when you see
Yeah,
the
but yeah, it was a
tape,
historic fire, no doubt.
but when you see the tape, let me know in terms of, are there any lacunae hanging here, just, need to be fleshed out as we could do. I'm sorry about the time and the flummoxed connection and all of that, but at my age, I plead confusion. And then you add
No, you've got to find somebody to holler at. You're not handling this right. You got to find somebody to holler at.
No, to holler at me.
Now you're a host.
Yeah. So, it is a riveting topic, and we are, just so fortunate to have Sandy Yanone, who has really firsthand emotional through her father reactions and connections, but also a lot of background flying the trapeze poems. Could you?
Yeah, this is my friend Lilo Way's tribute to her grandmother, who was a trapeze artist named Lilo in the Ringling Barnum and Bailey Circus. So
The real thing.
the real thing.
Wow.
And this is an account of her life as a trapeze artist in the circus. A beautiful tribute to her grandmother. And we did a reading last February in Seattle together.
You did?
From her book and what then were my developing sonnets about the circus fire.
Wonderful. By the way, Victor, Sandy travels the world doing poetry readings and celebrations, and I'll have more to say about that as we go on. But Lori, could you just read a couple, this one
Yep,
and this one,
you got it.
as a sample?
Okay,
Oh, this is wonderful. And what a book.
okay.
Beautiful.
Once you have tasted flight, you forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward. For there you have been, and there you will always long to return. Leonardo da Vinci.
Leonardo da Vinci. How's that?
Aviculture. I've been captured and cultivated, but not quite a bird. My marrow full bones soar. On no shafts of wind with no flight feathers, I'm a mythical, celestial, unpinionized trapeze god. All flex and pump, all sweep and swing. Look, they've trained me to fly.
Would you read that again? It's so beautiful.
It
The
is.
music
you can feel,
of it.
It is. You can feel yourself kind of soaring through the air
Musical.
in a safe way. I've been captured and cultivated, but not quite a bird. My marrow full bones soar. On no shafts of wind, with no flight feathers. I'm a mythical, celestial, unpinioned trapeze god. All flex and pump, all sweep and swing. Look, they've trained me to fly.
I love that.
Yeah,
Just out of the blue. Oh,
Nice rhythm.
it
that's
does.
rhythm.
And the rest of the book is like
Beautiful.
that. And
Beautiful.
that is Lilo Way, her grandmother. It's called Flying Trapeze Poems, and it is published by Red Bird Chapbooks. You can order that online if you care to.
It's gorgeous.
It's a great illustration. Love
Circus. Those
this.
are the original circus posters.
I love
And in
this.
fact, she is in it. She's literally
She's in
the
there
woman.
somewhere.
The
Wow.
grandmother is
Wow.
is the trapeze artist in the circus poster.
That's great.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am so grateful. Victor, thank you for piping in. I'm so touched with this show simply because it's Connecticut and it's Victor's from Connecticut and it's so deep in our bone marrow as the poem addresses, and somehow it just ripples forever.
And you know, I walk around Connecticut and will mention the circus fire. People have their family history
Yes.
still. And
Yes.
it's either I was there or I was not there. So it feels like a story that everyone in Connecticut has still some connection to.
And ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. What a wonderful show. We are a wrap. I can't imagine how this would have been scripted. You can't do it.
Can't do it.
No, it's gorgeous. Thank you very much, Lori.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, Sandy.
Thank you.
Victor, that was really so freeing.
And I hope I get to
therapeutic.
hear more poems when I see the tape.
Oh, good. You will. Yes. And May will fill the bill. We'll get our fill.
Well, you know, one of the poems is called The Arsonist, which that is
Oh,
my
The Arsonist.
ventriloquism of
Right,
Robert.
right, yes.
We are a wrap. Thank you, Lori,
Thank you.
and Mr. Mike, and boy, if the viewership doesn't increase starting now, we'll fold our tent. Oh,
The show must go on.
oh, ouch. Thank you. Oh, and we always levitate for some reason.
If I'm gone tomorrow and you hear this song today, just remember there is love for you in every note I play. There's an echo in the canyon, a reflection on the sound